Have you ever struggled with creating a budget? I know I have. I know that for a really long time, despite my mother's best efforts, I did not understand how to create a budget. Like straight up, I could not understand how this like piece of paper with all these numbers and categories was going to link to my money. Like I didn't know where the corresponding connection was. I was like, how does this actually work, right? And for a really long time, I struggled because I never knew how much money I had. I never knew if I had enough money to get me to my next payday. I had no clue. I would just spend money until there was no money left because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Like, I mean, of course, you save a little bit here or there or whatever, but like that's what you're supposed to do, right? Like nothing ever made it make sense. For a really long time, I just struggled with it. But then at the ripe old age of 21, when I found myself so broke, so deep in credit card debt, like I had over $11,000 of credit card debt, y'all. I was 20. Clearly, I was not living my best life. I was super broke and I couldn't even afford the internet. So I couldn't even Google anything to like help me figure out how to make a budget. But I created my own adult size budget, and that budget was the one that finally made it click for me. So I'm going to be sharing with you the quick start budget because, well, that's what it is. Like you're going to be able to finally get your budget going right now. Of course, the caveat here, the catch is you are the one that has to make sure that you stick to whatever budget you create. But I promise you this quick start budget is going to make it make so much sense. Like literally it's going to blow your mind, guys. My name is Jessie Fearon and I am a financial coach, and I have been sharing my family's real life on a budget on my blog at jessiefearon.com for, oh my goodness, 7 years now. I've documented my family's 100% debt-free journey. We paid off over $55,000 of consumer debt in 2 years, and then we became 100% debt-free in January of 2019 when we paid off our mortgage, and we are a family of 5. So I know all about living a real life on a budget. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I hope what I'm going to share with you today is going to help you, and I think it will. So what is the quick start budget? The quick start budget is just using the money you already have. So we're not going to be forecasting in the future. We're not going to be doing any of that. You're not going to be making a month-long budget here. You're not going to be doing anything like that at all. We're not even going to be doing crazy categories, y'all. We're just not. We're not going to be doing that. Nope, no, 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 no. What you're going to do is you're going to log into your bank account and you're going to write down the current balance sitting in your checking account. Whatever it is, write that number down. And then I want you to get out your calendar, whether it's an online calendar, a paper planner, whatever you use, get your calendar out and then get all of the bills you've got that are coming due. Okay, all the bills you have coming due. I want you to just take a few minutes to sit down and fill out your calendar with the due dates of those bills. Okay, and I do this every single month, guys, and it's so helpful because come on, life gets crazy, right? You know, and I have totally forgotten to pay a bill. Even being debt-free, I have totally forgotten to pay a bill before. It happens. But by making this a habit where you are constantly putting into your calendar the due dates of whatever bills are coming up, you'll be able to make sure that those bills actually do get paid on time, and so you're not having to pay those late fees and you don't forget about them. Make sure you include the dollar amount. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, like, say on October 1st, your power bill is due and it's $150. You're going to find October 1st in your calendar and you can put power due $150.46. That way, when we're sitting down and we're making this quick start budget, it's going to go so much faster because you're already going to know what the due dates are. The next thing you're going to want to make sure that's in your calendar is all of the events you have coming up. Most of us keep our social stuff in our calendar. So for the most part, you probably already have this in your calendar. But I want you to go and double check to make sure that that stuff is already in your calendar. Because when we sit down to do the quick start budget, you want to make sure that you have accounted for everything. And the very last thing you're going to put in your calendar are your paydays. Write in what your upcoming paydays. You don't have to fill in the dollar amounts because you may not know what they are. If you do know what they are, that's great. But if not, just write down that it's going to be payday. All right, now that your calendar is all set up, this is what you're going to do. You're going to then take that current checking account balance that you have. You're going to look at your calendar and you're going to say, okay, what bills have to be paid between now and my next payday? So in other words, what bills have to come out of this? Like, let's say your checking account balance is $1,500. What bills have to come out of that $1,500, right? So you're going to list out those bills and subtract them out from that $1,500. And whatever amount of money you have left after that, then you're going to go, okay, so do I need to go into the grocery store between now and my next payday? If so, you're going to want to write in how much you're expecting to spend on groceries. And I'll go over real quickly here in just a second how to figure out how much you have been spending on groceries. Am I going to have to put gas in my car or pay bus fare or train fare? What other expenses do I have coming up between now and this next payday? Do I have tithing that needs to come out of my budget? Do I have savings that need to come out of my budget? Which the answer is yes, you do. Just saying. Do we have, great Aunt Enda's birthday coming up? What do we have going on that is going to require me to spend money between now and this next payday? This is why it's so important to make sure that all of those things are in your calendar. Okay, so if you're wondering like, well, I don't know how much I typically spend at the grocery store. Like, I don't know. Here are some things to really think about. One, are you actually eating at home? What I mean is, are you going to the grocery store and buying a ton of food and then no one's eating it? It's just being thrown away because maybe you're in a season where, all of your kids are in, various different sports all across town. And then you've got, business meetings and travel and everybody is just constantly gone out of the house. So maybe there's not enough time, at the end of the day to have a meal at home. So maybe you're eating out a lot more than you typically would. If that's the case, then you don't have to have a very big grocery budget, but you're going to have to account for that in the eating out category. What you're going to need to do is think to yourself, okay, am I wasting a ton of food? Because if you're wasting a ton of food, then that tells you that you are overbuying at the grocery store. But if you are finding yourself not being able to make it through the week without having to run back out to the store to buy things, then you are underspending at the grocery store. And I want you to have those in your mind because as I'm going through and telling you how to determine how much you usually spend at the grocery store, you need to have that in the back of your mind. Like, am I overspending at the grocery store or am I underspending? Because that's going to help you determine if the number you come up with is a reasonable number to include in your budget. So to figure out your grocery budget, what you're going to have to do, you're going to need to go into your bank account and look to see, okay, let's just say the last 60 days of grocery purchases. You want to find all of those grocery store purchases. You want to tally them up, divide them by 2, and that will give you a rough estimate of how much you have been spending the last 2 months at the grocery store. And so now with that information in the back of your head, do you think that number is a reasonable number? Do you think that maybe you need to increase that amount of money in order to make sure that you have enough food at home? Or do you think that, hey, you know what, we might be able to lower this? But once you have that number in place and you've determined if you think that's a reasonable number or not, write that number down on your quick start budget. Keep doing that with all of your expenses that you have coming up until you have reached all of the expenses between now and your next payday. Because what's going to happen is that when you get paid again on that next payday, you're going to take your budget that you've made and you're going to then add in your payday amount, your paycheck amount to the remaining balance of that other paycheck. And then you're going to do the same process over again. You're going to be looking at your calendar. You're going to be like subtracting out all the bills that are upcoming. You're going to be, subtracting out your groceries and events and, tithing and saving and all of those things out of that paycheck. The reason that this works for so many people is because it keeps your money in front of you. Every time you get paid, you are immediately going in and you are updating your budget. And most folks get paid every 2 weeks. So at least every 2 weeks, you're more than likely going to be going and checking on your budget. If you only get paid once a month, I would encourage you to be doing this at least every 2 weeks where you're checking in with your money to make sure that it is going to last you until that next pay period. And by keeping your money in front of you, you keep your money from controlling you. You're now going to fully understand what your money's doing, how it works, how it flows in and out of your household. And you're going to have a better understanding of it. And you're going to be able to break the paycheck to paycheck cycle, which I know seems a little crazy because you might be thinking, well, I'm budgeting paycheck by paycheck. That doesn't make any sense. But this breaks that cycle because you are going to be fully aware if that paycheck is actually going to last you into your next payday. You're going to become so aware of this, you are going to take positive actions in order to make sure that that money lasts you and that you can start building up that money. And if you are looking for more ways to help rein in your money and to get your money under control, make sure you sign up for our 5-day money challenge at the link in the description of this video. It's a free email series that is over the course of 5 days, and they are 5 simple ways of getting your money in order and under control so that way you can finally have control over your money instead of it controlling you.